Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back for another exciting episode. Chris, listeners, welcome back.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for joining us, man. I see that the people are trickling in. Whether you guys are joining us live or whether you guys watch this episode later on repeat, and you guys are watching it through your car, we just want to thank you guys for joining us today. Man, let's get started, Gio.
Watching it through your car. Wow. Interesting.
Hearing it.
Poetic words. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started with what you see on your screen there. Of course, Emanuel El Vaquero Navarrete, exciting fight this past Friday on ESPN. Exciting card, really, and we'll get into the whole thing. Jesus checking in, saying Navarrete's must watch on ESPN in his rare, ugly style. He will get beat versus a very disciplined boxer. Yeah, I mean, Navarrete is who he is. Very interesting fighter. Not the common style, not the most, what would you say, textbook style. But very exciting Navarrete now, campaigning at 130 pounds and now becoming a champion, right? Winning that vacant belt against Leon Wilson, the tough Aussie. Navarrete ultimately walks away with the victory. Survived that scare in the fourth round. He was badly hurt. Leon Wilson wasn't happy with the count, but someone translate for him. It's called Colmillo, Wilson.
Yeah, man. Again, that there's always going to be controversy when those counts are deemed long. Of course, there's not a set way to call it. It's really at the discretion of the ref. But yeah. Before we get started, Joe, I want to ask you. Of course, this was a vacant belt. Neither of these guys held the title at that weight. Did you have any what's the word? Did you have any doubts about the validity of this fight before it began?
Well, yeah, but that's the modern way. Some guys fight for it. Some guys fight a champion. Some guys just fight another guy and win the championship, and some guys get their championship belt emailed to them. So Navarrete is somewhere in between there, right? Didn't face a champion, however. A very tough fight. And I think after the fight, no one will be questioning the validity, using your own word, of this title win. They asked him that as well. He becomes a 3-division champion, Navarrete. They asked him what he thought about the criticism that he may receive because it's a vacant belt. And I don't think he cared much. So he definitely earned it. So I don't think the question applies to this. In my eyes, this is a lot better than, like I said earlier, getting your belt emailed to you. So, I wouldn't question this win by Navarrete.
Yeah, and of course you mentioned the the knockdown, the count. In your opinion, Joe, was the count too long? What are your thoughts?
I don't get into that stuff, man. Let the referee do their job. Colmillo, like I said, Navarrete, very smart. He was badly hurt. He spit out his mouthpiece. Referee actually trying to speed things up, shoved it back into his mouth, actually shoved it in the wrong way. Navarrete was showing him, look, you put it in the wrong way. Bought a few more seconds, twisted that thing around, put it in his mouth, and then action continued. There was about 12 seconds left in that round. But yeah, Navarrete, you got to be witty. You got to be smart. You got to do what you got to do to win, and Navarrete understood that. He understood that the assignment at that very moment was to survive, and he spit out his mouthpiece, bought himself 5, 6, 7, 8 more seconds, whatever it was, and was able to survive. But veteran move, smart move, in my opinion, about Navarrete, and I don't think anything was done out of the ordinary, quote-unquote, or anything illegal.
Yeah. For me, I agree with the Colmillo comment that you just mentioned. Navarrete has been in the game for a long time, but this is the first time he suffers a knockdown, if I'm not mistaken. So there was there was that question that he said that he answered to himself. How would I? Now I know how I would respond. But a ton of heart shown by him. A knockout would have been devastating. At him moving up and coming up short. But like you said, Colmillo, he was able to weather the storm. This was a fighter, an opponent that not too many people knew. I didn't know who this guy was. I don't think you knew too much of him. But like you mentioned, this fight was memorable. I think it's an early candidate for Fight of the Year. But yeah, props to Navarrete for, like I said, weathering the storm, showing his grit. Could have folded, but he used everything that he needed to survive, and you got to commend him. Survived, saved by the bell, but was able to recoup and find a way to knock out his Aussie opponent in the ninth.
Yeah, it's 77-74 two times, 76-75 one judge. Those were the scorecards. Vaquero Navarrete was on top on all three cards. He was hurt a couple times in this fight. Liam Wilson, very, very respectable opponent. He was coming in at 11-1, 7 knockouts, obviously, by all the footage that they showed before the fight. And by his own words, we knew that left hook was going to be dangerous and that was going to be the go-to punch. I feel like he fell in love too much with trying to set up that left hook. That left hook who left Navarrete badly stunned in the fourth. And he was able to catch him, like I said, a couple more times. But I think it all came down to heart, to stamina. We know Navarrete is a guy who's going to throw punches and bunches, right? Your favorite quote, Chris. He's going to throw a lot of punches, and that's exactly what he did. He broke down Wilson little by little. But you got to commend both warriors, man. To me, already top candidate for Fight of the Year. We talked about how good the fight was between Beterbiev and Yard. I think this one was even better, more exciting. I can't remember the last time I was this excited for a fight. Just watching every single round transpire. It would have been very surprising if Navarrete would have been defeated, especially with Valdez waiting for him. He was there in the arena in Arizona. But he made a big comeback, Navarrete, and very, very exciting fight and great win for him. Now he's a champion. Now it seems like he's going to fight Oscar Valdez, so that's another all-action fight there. Big Bro says Navarrete is lucky that Shakur is no longer in the division. But he says he whoops Valdez, though.
Yeah. And again, I got to shout out to the people watching this fight because this one could have gone under the radar. Like you mentioned, this is Navarrete versus like who knew, like who is this guy? But the people that saw this fight got an action-packed fight, early candidate for Fight of the Year. I gotta ask you, Gio, with Valdez in the ringside, does a Wilson, does he deserve an immediate rematch because of the controversy, or do you think he has to wait a little bit and let Valdez and Navarrete get their fight next?
I'm not sure what controversy you're referring to. Yeah, I don't understand the question. There was one winner, and that was Navarrete. So obviously, that's the fight that everyone wants to see now. Jesus says, Liam, you can't get an easy win. You can't base a fight on a slow count. Yeah, and anytime anyone bases it on how a human being counts, they're in the wrong. So, and then Jesus says, breaking news: Manny Pacquiao versus Conor Ben. Interesting. I don't think Manny returns, but unless it's like an exhibition or something. But yeah, going back to this fight, the respect that both of these men deserve. I don't like how you keep saying Vaquero versus a nobody, in other words, because now we all know Liam Wilson, and we all want to watch him fight again. Very good, solid fighter, trained away from his family, took it very seriously. And, hey, look, he was 5-10 seconds away from knocking Navarrete out. So very worthy opponent. I'm sure we'll see him again. I'm sure we'll see him again on ESPN. It won't be against Valdez though. That's the fight no one is asking for except Chris. We'll more than likely see Navarrete against Oscar Valdez. Is an all Mexican showdown. Like Valdez said, we want to get another Barrera Morales. So it seems like they're both up for it. It seems like they both understand the task at hand, and that is to fight each other next. If not, toward the end of this year, and give us a war, give us all a show.
To Liam Wilson's defense, there had to be the adrenaline rush, him being so close, almost tasting, almost, holding that coveted belt. I'm going to give him a pass and say that it was just that, the adrenaline, the emotion. I hope he uses this as motivation. If you feel like you're the champion, well, keep working hard and prove it. Those, like you said, Gio, people want to see him again, even in defeat. I think his star rose. So let's see if he gets another title shot. He's going to have to seize it.
Navarrete must fight ASAP versus Oscar. Not till the end of the year, you mean? Yeah, I think the only thing that stops it is Valdez did have the injury. As he explained on the telecast, he broke his ribs. So he was out for a bit, wasn't able to train. So I would want to see both of them at their best. Not sure if Valdez coming back from an injury like that will be at his best. So I'd like to see him, probably get a little tune-up fight. But I agree that I'd rather see it sooner rather than later. I just want to see the best version of both of those guys. But I mean, both possess a very exciting style, and styles make fights. And these guys, they're going to come out and attack each other. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to take much time to try to feel each other out. I think they're going to get straight to it. And they respect each other, but they understand that this is a legacy type fight. If one gets a victory over another, I think that's career defining. Oscar Valdez already has one. He was able to stop Miguel Berchelt. If he gets another one, that cements his legacy a little bit more, especially after the loss versus Shakur. But Navarrete, I feel like he's still searching for that marquee win. This was a very great win, but Liam Wilson is not a name like Oscar Valdez. So Mexican against Mexican, it can happen anywhere. It can happen in Arizona. It can happen in Texas. It can happen in L.A. I'm sure they'll put a lot of people in those seats, and I'm sure a lot of people will tune in. So it's not a difficult fight to make, man. Top rank ESPN.
Right. If these guys were fighting tomorrow, Gio, and they were both 100%, who do you favor?
I think you got to favor Oscar Valdez because he's, I would say, naturally the bigger physically fighter right now, simply because he's been at 130 longer than Navarrete. This is Navarrete's his coming out party at 130, right? Coming up in weight. But I don't know. I kind of prefer Navarrete a little bit. I think you can't count him out. He said something very interesting after the fight. He said, I'm very happy right now because I learned that I can get dropped, go down, and get back up. So I think he learned something about himself. I feel like he's going to be more confident. And obviously his style is very, very interesting, unique. He's going to throw a lot of punches. Can Valdez keep him off of him? He was able to do it against Berchelt. Can he have another marquee performance like that? I think defensive-wise, Berchelt and Navarrete aren't too different. Both guys focus on offense first. Yeah. So I think Valdez can definitely win. I think it's close to a 50-50 fight. Who I would go for is Navarrete, who I think if I were to bet, I would probably put money on Valdez simply because he's more accustomed to the weight.
Yeah. In hindsight, I was going to favor Navarrete. I think he's got those long arms. I think he's got, like you said, a very unorthodox style, very tricky. He seems to have been steamrolling through his opponents. There's been marquee matchups in the past. Like you said, not perhaps the legacy or name fighters, but he's beaten every single one, and he's passed with flying colors. And I would have favored him against Valdez, Joe. I would have probably favored him, even though he's a smaller guy. But I think he would have grown. He's going to grow into this division. But man, seeing just this fight, I don't know, man. And you hit it on the nose. He reminded me a lot of Pernell in this fight. Will he fight that same way, or will he adjust? That's another story. But based on this performance, I feel like Oscar would feel very confident in this fight. And I think one of our boys in the chat nailed it. I think Oscar just has a lot of, he's of course, like you said, an offensive fighter, but he's got a well-balanced boxing background through his amateur and Olympic career. So I would have to bet on Oscar about this.
Yeah, and look, I think Navarrete struggled against Wilson because of that. If he was fighting still at 126, whoever he was fighting, he would have been knocked out. Wilson has a tremendous chin. He was bigger physically. You saw it in the first half of the fight. He took Navarrete's best punches, and when he dished it out, Navarrete was getting hurt by those punches. So I think he's going to have to get accustomed to fighting bigger guys, Navarrete. I wouldn't mind another fight in between and then Valdez, but I think this is a very good fight. I think Valdez and both Navarrete are probably better at 126 because size-wise, Berchelt was a big 130. He had to move up right after that, and Valdez was still able to defeat him, but it would have been interesting if it was a 12-round fight because could he have kept Berchelt off of him for 12 rounds, right? We didn't find out because he hurt him so early in the fight. But I think these guys, size-wise, are not too off. But we did see Navarrete struggle against Wilson, who's a bigger guy, had a couple inches of advantage in height. But Navarrete has those long arms, so he was able to offset that with the speed, with the power, with the movement. I think it was a very interesting fight, Navarrete-Valdez. But I don't tend to make predictions based on their last fight. I think this was a great learning experience for Navarrete, and now Valdez is the fight that we all want to see.
Yeah, and I know this sounds cliche, but if these guys do get it in and get this fight on this year, or even early next year, the true winners will be the fans, because just like you said, Gio, their styles are just they're made for a war, and it's going to be an interesting clash. Again, it's all offensive. They don't have the most sound defense. They don't possess a Shakur or a Devin Haney. These guys are going to get touched by each other, and I can see them dropping each other multiple times, and I can see this fight going either way. And I see maybe 2-3 fights out of this one. But man, hopefully, like you said, they get this deal done. ESPN, Top Rank, and make it happen.
Navarrete hasn't lost since his 6th pro fight. That was in 2012. He was 17 years old, and he hasn't lost since. So a loss early on in his career. It seems like now he's stepping up in competition, stepping up in weight classes as well. So very interesting fight to be made with Oscar Valdez. And why not fight each other, like you said, 2-3 times? I think their styles suit, that type of sports rivalry. And I think they struggle against the other guys. I think they struggle against Shakur, against anyone else who can move and box a little better. So I wouldn't mind watching them, in a couple fights as well. But ultimately, very good main event. The undercard was very good. I wasn't sure that this main event was going to live up to it, but it certainly did. I'm sure everyone who paid a ticket to be there was very happy. El Vaquero Navarrete walks away with the victory, walks away with the belt, and I'm sure we'll see both of them again pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, Gio. Just that it was a great fight. Nobody had to pay any pay-per-view, any kind of money like that. So that's the treat when you're a true boxing fan. You tune into every single fight, and you get rewarded with great fights like this, without breaking the bank. So yeah, commend these two men for squaring off, and Liam Wilson, we'll see you soon.
If Navarrete beats Oscar, he must face all the champions. And look, interesting enough, who else is moving up in weight class? Ray Vargas.
Ooh,
Ray Vargas moving up in weight class.
right.
He actually fights this Saturday for a vacant belt, so we'll see him in action. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's get into a little bit of the undercard for this fight on ESPN. Like we mentioned, stacked card. A lot of good names on here, man. A lot of prospects, a lot of guys who are going to make noise. Of course, Arnold Barboza Jr., is a guy who he's been making noise, right? And now he's kind of getting the flowers that he deserves. He's getting the bigger name fights. And we could start off with that. Arnold Barboza right there on your screen against Jose Pedraza. Arnold Barboza Jr. remains undefeated. He's now 28-0, wins a unanimous decision. Ultimately, I think the cards were closer than they should have been. One judge had it 97-93. I agree with that. Or maybe even wider, but two judges at 96-94 for Arnold Barboza. Ultimately, he dominated. He was quicker than Pedraza. Pedraza, not sure how well he can do at 140. We've grown accustomed to watching him in the lighter divisions. That's where he was a champion. 140, he hasn't really earned any big victories, and Barboza was just too much for him. Pedraza showing that veteran grit, but too much for him was Arnold Barboza in this fight.
Yeah, I agree. Arnold showed his high IQ. We said in the past he's been getting his knockout ratio up. He doesn't get it this time. That's the thing I would say is probably the most disappointing for me. That he didn't get the knockout. I know he's trying to make noise. The first thing is to get a W. He got it. The second one is to try to get the knockout, make some noise. To kind of push those other 140s. To bend the arm there to get those fights. At the same time, I think him looking a little, I don't want to say vulnerable, but in a sense, yes, a little vulnerable, might entice those 140s. But all in all, Arnold just dominated a name fighter, and hopefully these other 140s are, hopefully they answer the call. I'll be honest. I think Arnold has he's gonna have his work cut out for him. Against the Regises and against the Chones. But, hey, this guy's hungry. He's been knocking at the door. I think he's got that right mentality. And, man, all those 140s out, they're on notice.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like Timmy and Andre Ward. I think he did a great job. It's a fight. Just like in any sport, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Of course, you would expect a veteran like Pedraza to make a little run. So I'm not worried about that. Big Bro says he didn't close out the fight like he should have. He's not beating any of the top three guys with that performance. We'll see. Regis just won one of the belts. Josh Taylor, not sure where he is right now. And obviously Chon, he's still a name. Jose Ramirez is still a name. Let's see if any of these guys, are going to give Arnold a chance. He's been calling all these guys out. Regis right away tweeted that Arnold should fight Teofimo, right? If I remember correctly, that's who he said he should fight. Smart, obviously, throw him to another name. Don't throw him to me, right? But ultimately, I think he was winning a good, comfortable fight. Maybe got too passive there a little bit. Pedraza made a little bit of a comeback, but at the end of the day, I think not the toughest of fights for Arnold. He's been in tougher scraps, but he got the W, and that's what counts. That's what counts. Yeah. And hopefully they think like Chris and think, hey, he's looking a little vulnerable. Now it's the time to fight him. All right, but I think he'll be fine. I think he's getting better and better. And that first half of the fight was just masterful. He was fighting on the inside, fighting on the outside, angles, defense. He looked great. He looked great.
Yeah, I think Alexis is copying what I just said, man. Because we both kind of agreed there, but
you just copied what Timmy and Andre said. So
I'm not saying Arnold can't beat the top three. I think he has a very good chance of being the top three. I'm just saying it's not going to be no walk in the park. He's gonna have to dig deep, but I think he does have what it takes. He does have the tools at his disposal. But again, it's just he's gonna have to have in like a perfect performance, an A plus night against those top guys. But he can do it.
Well, that applies to everyone, not just to him. Those guys are gonna have a good night to beat him too. And look, let me tell you this: he is top 3 right now. Who else is there? Regis.
So we got Regis, Chon,
not sure. I'll rate Chon or Ramirez ahead of them. Obviously, they have a better resume at 140, but they've took their losses. I think they're all in that playing field. Now, if you listen to the ESPN rankings, those guys have no idea who they're ranking. They're just throwing names out there because I think they had Ryan ahead of Arnold. I know they have guys like Teofimo up there, and they didn't even put Catterall. Like ESPN, they don't know what they're doing. But look, there's some good names, but I think a lot of those guys haven't proved more than Barboza. Catterall certainly hasn't. Ryan Garcia certainly hasn't. Teofimo Lopez certainly hasn't. And the other guys are coming off some losses, but I think they've earned their stripes, the guys you mentioned, Cepeda, Ramirez. But Arnold is up there. And we won't, I don't think we'll find out how good he is until he faces one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, Josh Taylor, not sure where he is right now. If he's staying at 40, if he's going up. I know he's been injured. He's been taking a break. So who knows? If he's there, then he's number one. But we'll have to wait and see. I think 140 right now is in a very interesting stage.
Yeah. So I'm looking at box right now, Drew, at the 140s. Regis Prograis, he's number one. Josh Taylor has dropped to number 2. He had that controversial win over Jack Catterall. Number 3 is Teofimo Lopez. Number 4 is Jose Carlos Ramirez. Number 5 is Arnold Barboza. Number 6, Sandra Martin. And number 7, Jack Catterall. Of the names I just mentioned, Gio, who do you favor? Who do you put your house? Who do you put that money on against those guys?
Well, I don't put my money on those guys against anyone. I think they can all beat each other. So,
yeah. For me, after this fight, obviously we heard Arnold, and we've heard it before. He's been calling Teofimo Lopez. Obviously Teofimo doesn't have a title in that division, but he is a name. That's somebody I do favor Arnold in. I give the power advantage to Teofimo Lopez, but I give that mental edge, that grit to Arnold. And hey, that's a fight I want to see, and that's a fight that, like we mentioned, doesn't involve a title at the moment, but that's a great fight to make. And I don't know if Teofimo wants it, and Teofimo will say, "Well, Arnold doesn't have a belt. Why would I take that risk?" But that's a great fight, and man, that would put seats.
Regis, Taylor, Chon, Catterall, and Ramirez. Top 5, says Big Bro. It's not a bad top 5. I just think Catterall shouldn't be rated as high because he had a really good fight against Josh Taylor. If that was the case, then we have to put John Ryder as one of the top at 168 because he beat Callum Smith in the eyes of most people. So I think he got to win. He didn't win the fight, so I don't think we can put him. Especially that's his only notable fight, really. Larry Liston says, insane that none of the boxing media is jumping on the Navarrete versus Wilson fight. What a war. The fight was fight of the year and much better than Better BF against Yard. And yeah, we started off the show mentioning that, to me right now, fight of the year. Still very early, but it's going to be up there. It's going to be up there, just like we were talking about Better BF Yard last time out. I think this fight was even better. High-level fight.
Yeah.
Big Bro says Teofimo is in top 6. Wait, Chris. Big Bro says Teofimo is in top 6. He shouldn't waste his time with him if he wants a belt. I agree. It's a name. But I think Barboza right now shouldn't look backward. I don't think Teofimo is looking ahead. Because if you want to get a belt, you got to look at the other guys. And Teofimo right now, he isn't one of the top fighters at 140. Let's just be honest. The media is going to tell you otherwise, but he hasn't done anything at 140.
I think with Teofimo, it's just, I think it's personal animosity. I think Arnold sees that Teofimo has a name. He's known by the boxing public, the boxing purists. So I think he sees it from that angle. But man, I'm gonna have to agree with Alexis. I don't see Teofimo having that same mental discipline, that same, it's not the same Teofimo that I saw in the lighter divisions, just running through everybody. Whatever's going on with Teofimo, he's gonna have to figure it quick, man. And he's a very talented guy, but at 140, I'm not convinced yet.
Like, I ain't gonna say all that. He's still a great fighter. All I'm saying is he hasn't done anything at 140. That's all. I wouldn't go into speculations like Chris, but yeah, you got to give him time, and he has to take big fights. The fight against Pedraza would have been interesting. Pedraza had to withdraw, and obviously he had to take the Sandro Martin fight, which is a fight who's getting up for that fight. Mikey didn't. Teofimo didn't. So I don't think I would judge him based on that. But I think he needs to start fighting some of the top guys. And ESPN got to stop coming out with these crazy ass lists, because, man, those guys get paid for this. I said it at the end of last year. Some of these guys get paid for this, and still seems like they have no idea what the hell they're watching or what they're talking about. But the people got to put respect on Arnold's name, man. He's been earning it. And we'll see what's next. Ramirez, Regis is not happening, so we'll see where they go next. And Chon, I think he's going to have to take a tough fight because he just lost. So if he wants to get back in there, he's going to have to take a tough one. But 140, one of the hottest divisions. It has been for the past few years. And, with Josh Taylor winning all the belts and kind of dropping out a little bit, kind of shook things up. Guys are now collecting belts like Regis Prograis and other guys are coming up. So it's going to be interesting how that shapes up. But ultimately, very good fight for Arnold Barboza Jr. Pedraza could have been a bigger threat, but I don't think Arnold allowed it. So we got to put some respect on his name. And hopefully he stays active. If he's not able to get one of the big fights, man, get 2 more fights in there this year.
Yeah, I gotta say Arnold handled. I think the previous fight that Arnold was in, it was a little bit more. It was a little bit scarier just because his other opponent had power. I think this one was a little bit more. I think Arnold handled it much better. But again, I gotta commend Arnold. He's that guy that wants to make movement in his 140 division in the boxing game, and in a time where none of these guys are really fighting each other, or we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and the fight is getting made, but then it's not, and there's contract, that are not going through. It's refreshing to see someone just really want to get the big fights in, whether they're risky, whether they can, set them back. But Arnold really wants these fights, and hopefully he gets them in. WCW, let's go.
Larry, listen, hey, I like this guy. I haven't seen him before on the live chat, but he says 90% of the other channels that wouldn't mention Venado Lopez win against Warrington as well. We definitely mentioned it. I'm biased, though. We know him personally. We know Venado Lopez personally. He even gave me one of his team shirts, so I came out here and celebrated his victory. But, I would agree with you, Larry. A lot of these other boxing channels don't necessarily talk about these big wins simply because the names are not big mainstream, or I don't think these dudes honestly watch all these fights, to be 100% with you. That's why they can't talk about them. But we always got to shed light on those fights. I know he was impressed by this Navarrete win. So like I said, can't remember the last time I was excited about a fight like this one, Navarrete Wilson. I know Chris kept blowing on my phone, and I just ignored it. But, I think at the end it was a very exciting outcome, very good fight, regardless of who you were rooting for. I can't say I'm a Navarrete fan. I didn't know Leon Wilson. But as a boxing fan, I think you enjoy these type of performances by both men.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, Gio, not everybody mentions these names if they're not Canelo, if they're not a Manny Pacquiao, if they're not a Anthony Joshua, if they're not sexy names as you call it, like they won't mention some of these guys' achievements. But it's a big thing, just because they don't have that name recognition, it doesn't diminish, a fighter going across a pond and fighting in someone else's backyard and making it a very, close fight, because again, you really are fighting a true fighter in their backyard. They're trying to hold on to that title as best they can. And to not get robbed and to walk out with, that title, you become a champion for the first time in your life, that deserves some recognition. So I know, like you said, you're biased, but I think you would do that for anybody, So, yeah, man, we just try to share love to anybody that, is deserving. So, again, huge shout out to Emanuel Lopez coming home a champ. And, yeah, this is why we watch these kinds of fights, because you never know when there will be.
All right, Chris.
A spot here or. Okay, Gio, just to piggyback, I wanted to ask you, just talking about
Chris.
What happened to Navarrete?
Pause. Take a little break. Okay, but guess who they're not going to talk about either in a couple weeks. Lee Wood and Mauricio Lara either. Most people are.
There you go.
Oh, and Larry just commented as well. Look, is this guy me? Am I typing this up? This guy is saying exactly what I'm saying. But same thing. People are not going to talk about that fight. That's one of the fights we're looking forward to, just like Venado against Warrington. That's going to be a big fight.
Yeah. And that's the thing. These are the kinds of fights that after the fact, after people see that they're fighting of the year, that's when they'll talk about it. But no, Mauricio Lara versus Lee Wood, this one, like we said before, has fight of the year written all over it. Their styles are just made for each other. And yeah, man, you got to give props to the Brits, man. They're getting gritty, man. They're starting to come on. And, again, we used to talk smack about them that they, that they're overhyped, but hey, I'm starting to like these guys, man.
Hey, look, and I don't believe in the whole thing of you got to root for a Mexican because you're Mexican, but hey, I'm rooting for Lara on this one, because let me tell you this: to get a victory over there in the UK, if you're not from there, it's tough. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff, so definitely rooting for Lara, especially how it all went down with Warrington, the headbutts and all that. Venado had to go through some of that stuff too. So rooting for Lara, but I like Lee Wood too. He earned it the hard way against Conlon. And that's going to be a war, man. There's no other way that this fight is going to just turn out other than a war. It's going to be a war. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Both guys are going to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a personal favorite in this fight, like you mentioned. I like Lee Wood. I love a guy that gets off the canvas and finds a way and, reels himself to victory. But, I mean, Mauricio Lara just has an excellent style. Oh, man, this one's going to be good, man. And I feel bad for the casuals, the people that don't know their boxing, that just tune in for the biggest. This is
you really need to stop using that word.
You don't like casuals? You don't like that term?
I don't like it.
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna still keep it, man.
Hey, some people will call you that. So I don't like it. I welcome everyone to watch boxing. I don't care who you are. I don't care what sport you watch. Watch some fights. That's it. I don't like putting labels on people. But look, I think Lara should be the favorite, but he's gonna be the underdog. Like I said, going across the pond, all odds against him. We know how the referees get down. Judges could be a hit or miss. So it's going to be very interesting. So in this case, I think I'm rooting for the quote-unquote underdog and Lara. But whoever wins is going to earn it, man. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a war. It has to be. And I'm glad you guys in the chat are also excited for it because like we said, these guys deserve it, man. They deserve the attention. They deserve every single boxing person to be talking about them and promoting their fight. Larry says, I'm European, but I'm rooting for Lara as well. Kind of sad that they robbed him against Warrington. Wood is tough, though. Big Bro says, you need a knockout. You need to knock out a Wenka twice to get the W over there. You need to win by knockout to get the decision, huh? That's how it goes. That's dope, though. See, Larry recognizes. But yeah, I think that just adds to the drama. It adds to the drama, and that's definitely a fight that we'll be talking about next week. We're gonna preview that fight next week, so don't want to talk about it too much at the moment. I think there were some other fights on the undercard as well on ESPN that I do want to mention. Of course, Nico Ali Walsh, 6-rounder this time around, earns a unanimous decision. I'm rooting for the guy, man. I'm rooting for him. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So with Nico Ali Walsh, at first, like the same way I am with most fighters that, have famous fathers or, famous, parent athletes, I'm always very skeptical, but I'm starting to like this kid. I think he's very self-aware of who he is. He's very self-aware of where he stands. And, I obviously no one's ever going to emulate, the greatest, but I think he can make a run. I think he can make a run and cement his own little mini legacy, but time will tell. But just like you, Gio, I'm rooting for him. I like his mentality, and I like how he's developing.
Yeah, and look, before we move on, I just want to highlight Pedraza's losses because look at this list. Jose Ramirez, Jose Cepeda, Vasil Lomachenko, and Gervonta Davis. He's only lost to the best. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that he made a little comeback during the fight and adjusted and showed that veteran grit. So, hey, it's not like Arnold went out there and fought a chump, man.
Yeah. And I know when we highlight like the elite and the best fighters, we always, we focus on who's won all these fights. But you got to commend the guys who just get in there and fight everybody. A fight that just got mentioned today was Gabriel Rosado against, Ramirez, and a lot of people will not like that fight. But again, you got to just commend Gabriel Rosado for fighting everybody. And in a time where nobody fights the name fighters, like you just got to commend it. You got to obviously not the most attractive fight if you're Ramirez, Ramirez fan, but hey, you got to commend the guys. I call them the Sean Porters of the boxing game, the ones that fight every single guy in their division, win, lose, or draw. So, yeah, man, we need more of those guys.
Back then, it used to be normal. Now we highlight these guys. So this is how it has changed, man. This is how boxing has changed. But anyway, moving on. Lindolfo Delgado as well, part of the RGBA camp. Got another dub. Unanimous decision. Improves to 17-0. Richard Torres Jr., heavyweight action, improves to 5-0. Another stoppage. He's looking good. I'm glad they're putting all these guys on the undercards, man. We get to watch them develop. And, yeah, man, these are going to be big names, man. I'm not sure if Nico Ali will make it to that level. I'm rooting for him. I think I think a lot of people talked bad about him because of his name, criticized him simply because of his name, unwarranted criticism. So I'm rooting for him for that reason. Not sure he'll make it to the highest of levels, but I'm rooting for him, man. Why not? But yeah, Lindolfo, W. Richard Torres Jr., W. Emiliano Vargas, son of Fernando Vargas. He's the youngest in the eyes of the most talented out of the three brothers. Signed with Top Rank now, second fight with Top Rank. He improves to 3-0. Won a unanimous decision in a 4-rounder. And I think all these guys got some good experience, man. They all got a good experience, and they're looking good.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Gio, Richard, Nico, Emiliano, Lindolfo. All these guys, these guys are charismatic, and again, we've said that in boxing you need entertainers, and I think these guys are they have a good share of that. I wish they have more, all access or some 2 days where they follow them, and they need to put that more at the forefront. But these guys are exciting. They can make it, and we'll see. Time will tell. But let's hop on and support them as on their journey, because people just want to get there when they're at the top, but gotta enjoy the journey as well.
Larry says Lindolfo looked very good. Got a knockdown, underrated defense. In my opinion, definitely a future world champion. Not that many people know about Lindolfo. And Big Bro was already trying to line him up to fight Barboza. Not sure if that's a good fight for Barboza, since he's trying to challenge for a title and, taking these tough fights with guys who aren't as highly rated as him. Not sure that's best of ideas, but yeah, Lindolfo's another one of those dudes, man. Coming out of the RGBA, very talented, heavy hitter, very good fighter. And now we're getting to watch him more and more on these undercards on Top Rank. Larry also says Nico Ali, too many defensive flaws, and is actually just a glorified brawler. He's gonna get stopped once the competition rises. Hey man, you might be right, but you might be wrong. I think they all start this way, man. He's only 5-0. What is he right now? Let me check. I think he's 8-0 now. 8-0. So he has the spotlight this early on in his career. So we'll see how he develops. But yeah, I mean, I think half the people have that opinion, and the other half are rooting for him. I'm rooting for him, but I'm also somewhere in between there. Not sure how, like I said, what level he'll reach, how high he'll get up there, if he'll become a world champ. But hey, in the meantime, it's fun to watch him. It is fun to keep his grandfather's legacy alive. Every time he fights, they mention him 125 times. So I ain't mad at that. But very good card, I would say, overall, Top Rank. Very good show, entertaining. It was Friday over here. The fights went down in Arizona. The attendance looked really good. Really good. And obviously they got their money's worth. So very good. Very good undercard and a great main event.
Yeah. Gio, I'm going to pose a quick question, and this is a future prediction. Will any of these guys become a title holder? And if so, who?
The guys, I think Lindolfo does. I think Emiliano Vargas does. I will leave it at that. Just mentioning the young guys, Nico Ali, Torres, Vargas, and Lindolfo. To me, Lindolfo and Vargas.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And again, this is just our opinion. If these guys and Nico Ali, Richard Torres Jr., if they were to prove us wrong and become champions, that's just a testament to, them proving people wrong. So, hey, anything can happen. Just because we say it doesn't mean it's coming to fruition. So, yeah, man, I agree. I think Emiliano and Lindolfo hold the most promise, and I believe those two guys can hold titles one day. But, hey, we can be wrong too. So it's all up to them and how much work they put in their training.
Big Sean in the building. Shout out to Sean from the Just Boxing Foundation checking in. We just got done talking about the Top Rank card this past Friday. Very exciting action. But let's move on, Chris. Let's move on to the ladies. Amanda Serrano, undisputed. Another victory. This time out, she defeats Erica Cruz of Mexico. Earns the undisputed title and earns a rematch with Katie Taylor. This time, they'll square off May 20th. Dublin, Ireland. Now going to Katie's backyard. They made it happen over here in the States. Now they've agreed to take it to Ireland. But yeah, overall, very good action, I would say. MSG, Alicia Baumgartner was on that card as well. She earned the undisputed title. So yeah, I mean, women's boxing, man. They're headlining. They're coming up. And Serrano Taylor won, in the eyes of a lot of people, fight of the year last year. So if they can put on another performance like that, it's going to be great for women's boxing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just gotta say they busted a Canelo a Canelo Triple G. Announcing the fight right after a fight ended, which is I think it's cool. Yeah, Serrano Taylor 2. I think it's gonna be great. The first fight was, in my opinion, the fight of the year. It had everything. It was competitive. It was controversial. It pinned the two most talented women fighters on the planet, and it could have gone either way. This fight in Katie Taylor's home of Ireland, Dublin, it's gonna be insane, man. Those Irish, they really know how to get behind their fighters, and so I think Serrano has a tall order, but I think she has, this could cement her. This could maybe make it a trilogy fight if she's able to pull off what I will call an upset, because it's in Katie Taylor's hometown and her home, and it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be the event of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's poised to be that. Eddie Hearn, of course, very good promoter, already selling this fight. It's gonna be insane. The atmosphere in Ireland is gonna be insane. Katie Taylor has not fought there. Actually, they're mentioning that after the fight, so it's gonna be insane. We'll see if Serrano can go and steal the belts over there from Taylor. The first one, obviously, close, controversial, you can say. A lot of people thought Serrano won, so she's gonna need more than a special performance to grab the belts and come back with them. But yeah, I think overall, what I take away from this is great to see Amanda Serrano celebrated. She's won in so many weight classes. I can't even count how many. We saw a lot of Puerto Rican boxers and Puerto Rican legends come out and congratulate her and say how proud they were of her. And like I said, headlining at MSG, that's a big deal. So I think overall, very good celebration of women's boxing, and they continue to come up. Like I said, they continue to rise, and they continue to give us very good shows. So May 20th, that's the next one. Katie Taylor, Serrano 2. I think 50-50, Chris. I'm not sure there's a lot that can separate them in that fight.
Yeah, I agree. It's 50-50. I know a lot of people will favor Katie Taylor because she got the nod last time and because it's in her hometown. But I think she's a very emotional fighter. I think the crowd, even though people say the crowd works in your favor, it could sometimes go against you. And I think if she gets emotional, opens up, it could work in Serrano's favor. I thought Serrano fought a very good fight the first time out. She boxed very well. She got away from her game plan, and I think it cost her the fight. But hey, this one, like you said, it's as close as it gets. Serrano's getting a second chance at the belts that she was so close to, just grabbing. And I think the Puerto Rican fan base is they're true believers of her. I know we've talked about how it's the Puerto Ricans fighters have falling off a little since the 90s and the early 2000s from the Titos and the Cotos, but I mean Serrano's he's holding that mantle, and this one could cement her as one of the pound for pound greats, regardless of gender. So this is her moment, and if she can seize it, the world is hers.
Shout out to Jake Paul. He gets a weekly shout out from this show. I know you're watching, Jake. Shout out to you. But yeah, Chris, not much. I don't have much on that. I'm not the women's boxing expert, so yeah, that's all I got on that. Sean says, "Who's going to Dublin? I want to check it out. Never been. That's gonna be insane."
You know what?
May 20.
I agree with Sean. A lot of people always, they talk about Ireland and Dublin and the sightseeing and then the beer drinking and the hospitality. If you're finding a reason to go to Ireland, it doesn't get better than this. This is a good little outing, and again, I feel like this could be, I don't want to say the fight of the year, but it's gonna be big. I think it's gonna transcend sports. And yeah, man, if you need a reason to go, boom, Serrano Taylor 2 in Dublin.
There you have it. Moving forward to this weekend, you see it there on your screen. Rey Vargas against O'Shaquie Foster. O'Shaquie 19-2. 11 KOs. He's 29 years old. I don't know much about him, but I do know Ray Vargas is moving up in weight. And Vargas isn't a problem for everyone. But look,
Yeah.
one thing that I'm looking at right now is Foster's height. Vargas towered over everyone in the lighter divisions, 122, 126. Oshaki, 5'8.5". Vargas still going to be taller, but as he moves up in weight classes, of course, that size advantage isn't going to be so visible for Ray Vargas. So that's going down this Saturday, Showtime, San Antonio, Texas. Ray Vargas against Oshaki Foster.
Yeah. I don't have much to say because just like you, Gio, I don't know too much about Vargas's opponent. But if anything, like this past weekend has taught us is when, you're a guy like Vargas that's weight bullied in a sense, defeated, steamrolled through your opponents, you're moving up in weight, and you got to be careful. You can no longer just push these guys around. The power is different at these higher weight, divisions, so you cannot overestimate anybody. At any given moment, you can be touched and dropped, and you're going to have to find a way to, survive. So, yeah, man, don't overlook any opponent. They're all game.
Mario Barrios is on that undercard. Interesting. He's back.
Barrios.
Sean says, I'm Irish, plus I'm Irish and Puerto Rican. Best of both. Well, look at that. You got to pick one, though. You got to pick one. Let's go, mate.
I wonder who his favorite. Yeah, I wonder who his favorite. Who are you favoring, Sean? You're divided, literally.
All right. While we wait for that answer, also this Saturday, Marv Nation Promotions will be ringside, providing the live commentary there. Pomona, California. Stack card, our guy, friend of the show, Austin Brooks, will be on the card. Of course, Fernando Vargas Jr., son of the legend, will be on the card. Federico Pacheco, Diego Pacheco's younger brother, he's fighting at heavyweight division. He'll be on the card. And rumor is Alexander Gostek is going to be making a comeback as well. He hasn't fought since the loss to Beterbiev in October of 2019. Rumor is he'll be on the card as well. So catch us there. We'll be sharing the link to the YouTube link and all that. So, excited for that.
Yeah, Joe, when we got the call and when we got the bout sheet, I immediately sent it to you and I told you, and I was that's the one that first, that most stood out to me. I even had to send Ramiro, our matchmaker, a shout out, like, hey, yo, man, you guys are doing big things. This is pretty big. As you mentioned, Alexander Usyk was the fighter that retired, when he suffered a hellacious beating to AtR Beterbiev, the unified champion at 175. And for him to be making, this comeback, coming out of retirement, I think this is pretty cool. This is pretty, amazing, to come out of retirement. There has to be that fire in him that says, I still want to continue. There's still a lot to give. And it's awesome. And we're going to be calling this fight. We're going to call this action, and we're going to see, firsthand what Alexander Usyk has. He was once alongside Usyk and alongside Loma. He was part of the three best Ukrainians, pound for pound. So, hey, can't wait for the Saturday.
Sean says, looking forward to, where are you at? See you Saturday. Joey Abudi on the card. Looking forward to Mercado versus Lundy. Yep. See you Saturday, Sean. Hey, he might even hop on with us.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. We don't know if we can afford Sean, but we might have to slip him a 20 or two so he can hop on. But anyway, yeah, I think that's it for this week. We're about an hour in. Big shout out to Navarrete and Wilson for the big show that they put on, man. Both warriors. Of course, shout out to our boy Arnold Barboza. Friend of the show. He's been on the show, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, I'd say. I don't remember. He's been on the show many times. So, very cool dude. And it's great to see how he's been ascending in the 140-pound division. When we first, connected with him and started bringing him on the show, It was around the time where he was fighting. God damn, I always forget his name. Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado at the Staples Center. All right, it was around that time, and he was just beginning to make a name for himself. So, cool to see him time in and time out on ESPN and climbing up the ranks. And then, yeah, man. I think that's all I got, Chris. Any shout outs you want to send?
To me, just want to shout out again, like you just to piggyback off of you, just a huge shout out to Navarrete. He just showed a great heart, and I think some of the younger guys can learn from him. Even when you get knocked down, you have to find a way to stay in the fight. Many people could have folded, and a knockout could have been devastating, but I think that's where you learn, like you said, como tener colmillo, how to buy yourself, precious seconds. And again, it was a great night of boxing, not just for him, not just for his opponent, Wilson or Arnold. And we can't wait to see these guys back. They're knocking at the door of those titles.
Shout out to Mad Dog H checking in. We're about to sign out. But shout out to Andre Ward for hating on Canelo again, man. He was getting emotional there in the after show on ESPN. Andre Ward.
What did he say? What did he say?
Oh, he was just saying that he doesn't condone Canelo trying to fight Bivol at 68 and saying that the media goes easy on him and that he can, you know how it goes, man. The hater comes out as if Canelo doesn't have the best resume in boxing currently. Yeah, he was getting loud and emotional and stuff, and Timmy was laughing, and it was interesting. But it's always great to hear the hate, in the voice of some of these dudes when it comes to Canelo. I don't know, interesting. But yeah, we're signing out. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Sean, Mad Dog. Shout out to Larry. Hope Larry continues to join us. He had some very good takes. Shout out to Big Bro. Shout out to everyone else who's going to be watching the replay. Appreciate you guys. And hope to see you guys on Saturday. Like I said, we'll share that link if it's free. I don't even think we've been told. Chris, have we? Do we know if it's pay-per-view or it's free?
I think we get told this week, but we'll share it with you guys. We'll share it on our page.
Mad Dog says Ward is the leader of the Canelo Karens. That's a good one right there. That's a good one. Yeah.
See, that's why Mad Dog is pound for pound. He comes at the end, but he drops some gems.
Hey, Mad Dog can be like Deontay Wilder. He can lose all 11 rounds, but in 12, you better watch out. He's going to come out with the haymaker.
Hey, and Larry Listen was winning the early rounds, man. Mad Dog got that equalizer.
Larry was dominating until Mad Dog came in the chat.
Hey, Jesus got some rounds in too. Jesus always gets rounds. He starts fast.
Oh, Jesus starts swinging before the show begins.
Hey, I know Jesus is happy with that Roxy debut. I know you put it on our page, Gio. Did you want to share a little bit about that? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we can end it with that. We can end it with that. February 25th. I'm actually rocking the sweater, and this is a cool sweater. Shout out to Coach G and Roxy for hooking it up. But yeah, February 25th, right hook Roxy, otherwise known as Iana Verduzco, will be making her pro debut February 25th. AB undercard. Kid Kansas, Alan Garcia is also going to be on that. BOK Prime pay-per-view, like I said, February 25th. So we'll see if we catch them this Saturday, hopefully get an interview with them. But that's exciting news, man. Long time coming. A lot of people have been asking for it. We weren't sure what was going to happen, whether she was going to continue the amateur journey or, make the switch to the pros. And, at least that question was answered. We'll see now, pro debut, how she performs. But I think a lot of people were ready for it and couldn't wait to see her back in action.
Yeah, no, like you said, Gio, 25th. We're gonna see what she has. I know she's that hunger and that fire is back, and hey, it's the pro ranks now, man. Let's go.
Mad Dog says, no egg weights, though. All power. All natural, he says. Natural power. Yeah, but that's all we got. That's all we got, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you sub to the channel if you're not subbed already. Make sure to follow us at againstdaropes, Against the Ropes, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And always be on the lookout for that community tab, man. That's where we tend to post a lot of the updates, a lot of the new videos, a lot of the pictures, polls, and all that. So, yeah, appreciate you guys, man. We'll be back next week. Thank you guys, mates.
Let's go, Wilson.
Let's go, mates. Shout out to Wilson, man. Shout out to all the Aussies. You made them all proud. We'll see you soon, Liam Wilson. Let's go, Mike.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Juan AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo. Muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes. Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.